The main thing we have to do is to make sure that there is a +1 advantage in the first zone. Here, as you can see, the game has a 2v1 in the first zone, we have a 3v3 in the middle zone, and then we have a 2v1 in the last zone. In other words, we can say that we have a superiority here, +1 player, we have equal numbers in the middle, and then we have an inferiority, a player less, in the last zone. Our goal as a coaches is to make sure that we arrive in the last third with equal numbers. So how are we gonna create this +1 player here, and how we're gonna bring this player to the last third? In order to understand the +1 advantage and in order to understand the build-up, we have to understand that the game of 7v7 there are two situations that could happen. One is that the pressing is random. Random meaning that the players are going to press without sense, outside players going inside, inside player going outside, there is no structure. Yes, if this happens, if that's a situation and we don't have time to identify if they are pressing with one player, if they are pressing with two, if it's everything, it's so random that could happen because at these ages, the kids are little and some of them, they don't have the knowledge of pressing yet. The most important habit and the most important concept here will be to look inside first. Yes, there are many players that when they receive the ball, the first habit is to play back when they feel that they are pressed, when they see that there are two players pressing at them, this is too much, and they get frustrated. But the most important here is to create the habit that when we have many players pressing on us, is to look first the inside, because this is a situation that will help you a lot in order to solve the first press. But also, it could happen that the other team is well organized. We can identify easily if they press with one player, if they press with two. If we can identify that, if they have a defensive structure that is well organized, then we have time to think, okay, how are we going to create the +1? This is really important because this will allow us to create the first advantage, as we said before, to go forward. The first situation we have here is if we have one player. If we have one player, one striker pressing on us, the main thing we have to do is solve the 2v1. The Soccer 7 game is a game of 2v1s, and the first one will be the 2v1 against the striker. This 2v1 is a horizontal 2v1. Here, the most important is to eliminate that player. We have to have this player backwards, okay? We never can have a player dribbling forward when it's pressed, because this will not allow the player with the ball to make a good decision. So here, the most important is to learn how to solve this 2v1. This 2v1, there are different ways to solve it, yes? Everything depends on the type of pressing this player is doing. This player can either block the pass. If the player blocks the pass, this will allow myself to dribble, or this player can block my dribble forward. If this happens, then I need to play here. And if this player is really fast, we gotta do that. We gotta keep passing the ball to each other, obviously facing forward with a good body profile, with the first intention to go forward. But if we cannot go forward, we gotta be patient, because it's really important that we, when we join forward, we do it free. We have to be really picky in order to create the next advantage. This 2v1, there are two things that are really important. One, it has to be wide enough, but not really wide. Because if this 2v1 is like this, then we will not have space to play the other 2v1. Okay? It is really important that it's not narrow as this, but enough, like wide enough, in order that when we join the next zone, we can create a second 2v1. Sometimes we have kids that they open too much. And when you open too much, this is dangerous, first of all, because the ball travels slow here, because they don't have much power, but also because then when you try to create an advantage, there is no more feel. There is no more feel because we are receiving the ball too wide. Then, also, for these ages, we like to explain the concept of the passing lanes and put examples where the kids can learn it easily. One of the examples that we use is the concept of rugby. Rugby is a game that you only can pass the ball backwards. The main mistake of this age is that the kids want to go forward because they see spaces. The player that is waiting for the ball, the receiver, wants to receive the ball forward because here is where the player sees the space, but we have a defender, and this pass cannot go through. So here in the 2v1, it's really important that the receiver is maybe a little bit lower. Yes, a little bit lower, and when we receive the ball, then we can control forward. But that first pass, my position, if I'm the player without the ball, it's really important that it's a diagonal ball backwards in order to make sure that the player that is pressing will not intercept the pass. Now I'm going to explain the 3v2. The 3v2 at the end of the day is the same as the 2v1 because as you can see here we have a 2v1, yes, and the most important of the 3v2 is to understand who press you. If that player is pressing you, that means that we pass the ball to the free player. If that player is the one that pressed the ball to you, you pass to the other one. If nobody is pressing you, you must attack the gap. As we mentioned before, we like to attack the gaps because if you attack the gap, then could happen that both of you come at the same time. Then you have two options. You can pass the ball either to left or either to right. Yes? Here, there are typical mistakes that we see on the game. These mistakes are, as we mentioned before, when players do sidelines, dribble. I dribble towards the sideline. I go horizontal. If I go horizontal, I show too much my intention. If I go horizontal, I show to the player where I'm going to pass the ball. This seems really basic, but is one of the main problems of the build-up. Players dribbling towards their teammates. Players doing side dribbling. Here, as a center back, or as a 6, I gotta be much more aggressive. My first touch, my first body position, my first idea is go forward, is to attack that space, making sure that the player goes to me. At the end of the day, the game, it's a game of references. If we just go sidelines like this, the player that is defending can see us and the ball. So he can see the pressure and the ball. Yes? The next step, because we'll have an advantage, maybe will be that the coach of the other team will say, now yes, now finally I know what to do, now I'm going to create a 3v3. But that's a really good situation for us, because then by only using our fullbacks and having our center backs low, we have a 2v1 on the flank. And that's a really easy situation to solve.
Remember, if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now and turn on notifications so you never miss our future videos. Let us know in the comments the next topics to discuss. Together, let's take our understanding of soccer to the next level.